Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Evan Joseph Lilihata. Riddle me this. Have you all ever wondered why on a stormy afternoon your grandmother always told you not to go outside? And here I'm asking not for some obvious answers, no. Because once my grandmother pulled me by the neck, looked me in the eye, and whispered to me, "Do not ever go outside. Nenek Luhu is watching you." First of all, chill. I'm not some type of criminal, am I? And second of all, who's Nenek Luhu? Everyone here is asking the same questions, right? Well, folks, you're all lucky today. Because today I'm bringing a story, the legend of Nenek Luhu, a traditional story that has been passed throughout generations to generations. A story that begins not with a monster, no, it begins with a princess in a beautiful kingdom who are facing a very tragic irony. It is a story that belongs to the Dutch colonial era and showed what happens when true evil comes to the land of pure. Let me tell you the story of Nenek Luhu. So the story begins in a very beautiful kingdom, the kingdom of Luhu. Their sky, it's very breathtaking. God took a paintbrush and gave it a masterpiece of a stroke. He colored the vibrant yellow of the paddy fields and colored the brown, a lovely mahogany brown, for the cloves that grew around this kingdom. And because of those cloves, it grew to become profit and a business that helped the kingdom of Luhu control this spice trade. The kingdom of Luhu had everything: the beautiful landscape, the rich, and the wealth. And all of this was ruled by a righteous, protective king. His name is Raja Gimeraha Lutu. He is accompanied by his beautiful and wise wife, Buarbulan, and as her name suggested, she is very luminous because get it, Buarbulan means full moon, and she's as luminous as that name brings. The king and the queen have 3 sons and daughters. 2 sons, Sabadin and Kasim, very brave, very loyal to their country, very loyal to their kingdom. They are willing to fight till the end of their lives. They're the real warriors. And lastly, they have a daughter. But this daughter is very special. I'm thinking very special here. Her name is Tainalu. And she is an interesting individual because her mindset is not to conflict or inflict harm to any people. She is a very well-written girl who's very independent and trustful to her fate. However, in her mind, what's most important is not to cause harm to anybody. She wants to have the greater good, the better good for all of the people in the kingdom. This whole of a beautiful family ruled over the kingdom in righteousness, bringing it to greater glory. And that's the beauty of the kingdom of Lu. However, ladies and gentlemen, we know not all beauty can stay long, because from far away, very far away, someone is watching. Very closely, very accurately. and is filled with greed, with dishonest. Their heart is full of sin. The country, the nation keeps spying on us, one by one, day and night, years after years. They've been observing the spice trade market, everything inside them. They've been looking everywhere and found a prey, a target to prey on. That nation is the Dutch colonials. They are on a journey to capture and colonize all the land that produces the spices. They want to monopolize the market. And Kingdom of Luhu is one of their targets. Their commander, in boasting his big breasts, showing the great, his beautiful will for his nation, gets an eye on the Kingdom of Luhu and said, I will bring this kingdom down, and I will take all of this spice, all for the glory of this nation. And so, he doesn't come with compromise. No, they don't compromise. They don't arrange for some kind of meeting, some kind of promise. No. They're waging a war. Far away from the kingdom of Luhu, the land, they began hearing marchings of horses. Slowly, however, it became more intense. It became more intense. The sounds of the marching with the horse shrieking. Raja Gimahaluhudu heard about this, and he prepared the whole kingdom for a war. The war then began, days and night, sword slashes, exchanges of spear, firearms from the Dutch. Everywhere is full of chaos, and everyone is putting their lives on the line, protecting the kingdom. Saladin and Qasim is playing with their blades, with their iron knives. And the war continues for a long period. And after all of it accumulated, all of those booms, all of those destruction, it all resulted to accumulated dust. It dispersed throughout the battlefield. The outcome was very unfortunate. The kingdom of Luhu fell. Puar Bulan, the beautiful queen, fell. Raja Gimla fell. And also Saladin and Qasim, two brothers, great warriors, they all fell. All of it from the family, leaving one person, Taina Luhu. She was desperate, so desperate, she lay on the ground, not knowing what to do. She's full of regretfulness. Poor Bulan, Mother, Father, please don't leave me here. Somebody, Cassie. She was crying all over the place because there's no hope left. There are no hopes. And that commandant, boasting his chest against his breast, walked to Diana. Well, look what we have here. A beautiful young lady, I suppose. And then he commanded his troops, capture her, bring her to our fortress, bring her to the great fort of Victoria. And so they forcefully bring Taina Luhu and then bring her back to the fortress. She was captured with no hope left. The story should have gone bad here. However, there's hope. In that fortress, Tainaru area was tortured. You could talk about whipping and most excruciatingly, raping. She was forced to marry against her own will. However, chained to the wall filled with pain, she never gave up. She remembered that the glory of the kingdom will never fall. She remembered the efforts of her family, of her father, of her mother, of both of their brothers, and she wouldn't let them down. And as she was chained to the wall of the dungeon of the fortress, she told the commandant, "You can torture me whatever you like. You killed my father, you killed my mother, you killed both of my brothers. However, that means I have nothing left. I'm ready to lose because I have nothing to lose." She was challenging the commander because she has nothing to lose at that point. The commandant was in a very big shock and continued on to torture her. And as days goes by, day after day, finally, a time comes. Tainaru decided she doesn't want to stay like this anymore. She wants to get her freedom. So that night, she planned on going to escape. She carefully planned the time so she can saw off her chains and then stole one of the Dutch horses. And finally, she rides. The clamping of the horses' feet, always clamping the hooves, and she marches throughout the dark forest, and she doesn't care about anything. Her breath is very heavy. He was breathing all over the place. However, here, she doesn't care about anything anymore. She doesn't care about anything in the world. As he goes throughout the forest, she hears the critters grumbling, but she let them face. She continued on marching her horse until she finally came to the kingdom of Soya. And there he was served by the king of Soya, Raja Soya. Finally, all of her torture, all her unending pain, finally ended at this point. Now, day by day, she stayed in the kingdom of Soya. However, guilt still lives rent free inside of her heart. The guilt, the regret. Why can't I save my father? Why can't I save my mother? Why can't I save both my brothers? God, I miss you all so much. But the king of Soya, the Raja of Soya, he comforted her. Don't worry, young lady. Your father, he's a very nice guy. And also your whole family. You're all righteous. The thing is, you gotta believe in your heart, in your own self. And that helps Tainaru in all of her unending pain, in her trauma. However, because all of the raping she got when she's in the dungeon, finally, there's a time where she's pregnant. And now that trauma had grown into a very big state, into the final state. She reached the edge of what she can have, the edge of her patience. So that night, without her bearing the judgmentations from all the people throughout the kingdom, even though it's survivable, remember, she doesn't want to inflict harm on all of the people. She grabbed her leash, a horse, and then she's ready to get marching again. She marched continuously into somewhat familiar path again. She's feeling that rumbling again. She doesn't give any care to the world. She continued on marching. And finally, she get back into what seems like the ruins, broken buildings, and there are lots of rubble around. However, this place was once her home, and then her life ends with her looking to the sky. Not again painted in blue, no, it's painted in pitch dark black. It's painted in the color of void, showing the darkness inside her heart that had grown into her. Even Raja Soya can save her from this. Nobody. But the great news, she came back and able to meet her family again. And so, her spirits, it was never calm. The guilt, the regret, the anger from the unfinished business, mixed with supernatural powers, created the spirit of Neneklu. And this spirit haunted those who wanders inside of storms or at night. She's the one looking for them, seeking revenge, because at that night she had lost everything. As I tell you, this is a story not about a monster and vengeful spirit, no. This is a story that shows how big of a regret, how big of a burden that a princess with a pure heart can hold. Yes, you can feel like you want to have peace. However, when you're keeping everything to yourself, you're tying it, it will become loose knots. You will have a stable knot. You can't hold every set of feelings. No matter what you do, there will always be harm to other people. And the mindset that causes you to harm yourself will bring more disadvantage. That's what Nenekluhu's story wants to tell us. That we as individuals, yes, we do have to care. And it's good to care for other people. However, deep down we need to ask, can we hold this? Can we hold this obligation to care about other people? Because caring to other people's feelings will make us forget about our own feelings. And who's going to take care of it? That's the main advice that this story had come to tell. Thank you for listening it all to the end. I apologize if there are any mistakes that I made during the performance. And after all of that, thank you for watching.